Here's Brody Brazil.
I guess I'm here to pose a $500 million question. That is this. What happened in California where sports betting is still illegal? The elections came and went. A lot of people thought this was a literal slam dunk. Two different propositions. Only one of them had to pass. Both of them were spectacularly defeated by voters. There was Prop 26, which would have legalized in-person sports betting at tribal casinos and racetracks throughout our state. Not a ton of different sites, but, enough for the general public to get to. But again, limited to in-person sports betting. That was Prop 26. Prop 27 was going to open up sports betting. It would legalize it to online entities, which obviously is a lot bigger of a scale and spectrum. These two propositions and the folks behind each of them, collectively, they spent more than $500 million. Proposition 26 garnered $120.7 million in donor support and $43.8 million in opposition efforts, right? So each proposition had the for money and the against the other proposition money, according to the California Secretary of State's contribution records. Meanwhile, Proposition 27 drew $169.5 million in support and $237.8 million in opposition. They spent a lot more opposing 26 than they did to push 27. This comes to us from NBC News, by the way. And so what is $500 million? Like, is that a lot to spend on propositions? Well, that's more than was spent on the pivotal 2022 Senate races of Georgia and Arizona and Wisconsin and Nevada. Senate races, two propositions in one state, spent more than them. $500 million plus is also more than Hillary Clinton spent on her entire 2016 presidential campaign. I think I don't need to tell you $500 million on two propositions and trying to get them to pass, either one of them to pass, is a lot. But yeah, that's a lot of money. And look how they performed. Look how they failed. Proposition 26, tribal casinos and horse racing tracks, in-person betting only. No, almost 70-30. Proposition 27, online sports betting, an even greater margin. No to the tune of 83%. This actually shocked me. I've got videos here on my channel that, said a couple months ago, back in August, when all of this was starting to emerge and become more of a conversation, you saw all of those ads on television. Like, what's going on here? Like, how could maybe both of these would pass, but how could one of them not pass? One of them is going to pass. There's enough people, I thought, that are in our state that just want the opportunity, and the money. Each one of these had monies that would go to beneficial things in our state. I won't get too far in the weeds on that, but to think that neither of them passed is crazy. So I asked on Twitter, like, what happened here, everybody? How did you see this going? Dr. Mark said, first off, gambling addiction is a real thing and potentially ruinous to people. Secondly, the continuous backbiting commercials made me say, a pox on both your houses. Essentially, you're fighting, and I'm not really hot on either one of you. I'm speaking for Dr. Mark here, so I'm just saying no to everything. Okay, I understand that as an opinion. Here's Nick saying legalized betting will come. And I do agree with that. Maybe it's just the avenue of how we got here is what produced not only the no votes, but that wide of a margin. Legalized betting will come, but it'll come by legislation written by and for folks in the state. These propositions would have taken the money vacuum to California and dropped some chump change as a how do you do. It'll come, though. So I think Nick is saying there that it will come in a more beneficial fashion to the state instead of just, here's a little bit of money as part of the ton of money that other entities will make privately and give just a fraction to the state. The state's going to want more of a slice of the pie. Hal the hot dog guy chiming in. You lose as bad as this. I think it's simple. Californians don't want sports gambling. Not much more to say. Again, even for people who maybe it's not a big deal either way, I thought they would have just said, let people bet if they want. Not a big deal. It's legal in a lot of other states now. That ice has already been broken across the country. What does it matter here? Well, apparently it did matter here. So I understand what Hal's saying there. Michael's saying that's not what lost. And I think he was responding to some part of my question, but Michael going on to say they were horrendous bills only benefiting certain groups and not doing nearly what they could with the windfall of cash. Education, paying teachers and money for supplies that don't come out of their own pocket would be a start. And as the parent of a school-aged child, yeah, I get that now. Totally understand that. Kai says, my suspicion is tons of negative ads on both, and both sounded similar. Yeah, maybe it was a bit confusing. I think the truism holds that if voters are confused, they tend to vote no, avoiding changing things. I suspect it would have been a clearer narrative with just one ballot proposition favoring tribes, for example, 26. So here we are at the end of 2022. You still cannot legally bet on sports in California. Is that stopping a lot of you from doing it right now? No. Is it getting the state any kind of revenue in the process as of this point? No. Californians didn't pass 26 or 27 either way. Again, I'm still a bit surprised by this, but I also now understand the real take, and this is why you do a vote. You don't let these propositions get funded and pass right through, but $500 million. That lets you know how much money is on the table for what could be made in the future in this state with sports betting. If you're going to spend $500 million just to try and get this thing through, and they'll try it again in 2024, I'm pretty sure you can put this right back on the ballot again. So I do agree with the sentiment that it will eventually happen, but just under different terms. Let me know what you think about legalized sports betting in California. Why did it not pass? When will it ultimately become a thing?